Yeah, so we reached out to a few key people that we wanted to do like a training or presentation for us over the next few weeks. Obviously, a huge shift has taken place in the industry with NEM3 in California. And I'm anticipating, especially with, and I kind of mentioned on our WhatsApp, but especially with all the increases coming with financing, whether it be the dealer fees and interest rates and everything like that, I do anticipate companies like Sunnova, companies like Home Run Finance, a PACE program, maybe aren't as affected as some of these unsecured products. And so with that, I feel there's going to be a shift maybe around that time that Dana's talking about in the next 6 months. There's going to be a shift where leases and PPAs and PACE programs are going to kind of take over the market over these unsecured loans because they're going to be at just crazy dealer fees and crazy interest rates. So with that, we wanted to get Sunnova on the line anyways. Then Jay, if you guys missed that last meeting that Powur had, the big 4 hour meeting, the first Wednesday of the month, Jay just dropped a huge bombshell out of nowhere and was the highlight of the meeting for I think most of us that was on it. No pressure, Jay, but was absolutely the highlight of the meeting because some of the stuff that Sunnova is doing in the background to help us and to help consumers moving forward with the NEM3. So with that, Jay, if you want to go ahead and take over, and I'll mute myself, and we'll get things going.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Anthony. I appreciate it. And that's so funny that you mentioned that because I totally left that thinking like, damn, I fucking bombed that thing. Like I was like,
Oh, no.
dang, I should
You're the
have
best
been
part.
you're obviously referencing our free battery promotion here in California, and it's what Sunnova has done to kind of combat NEM3. And this training wasn't really geared towards that specific topic, but I will cover it because just based off of our early conversation here now, it sounds like batteries. There's a lot of opinions on it and the direction of NEM3 and where we're moving. And so that might be a topic that I'll discuss here. But I really wanted to focus on laying a foundation for some of you who are on this call that have not worked with me yet. Again, my name is Jay Balatbat. I'm the senior account manager with Sunnova, managing the Powur relationship. And just a little bit of background about me. I started in the solar industry. I've gone through maybe every single position in the solar industry that you can go through, from like lead generation, standing around in a Costco saying, "Hey, do you want solar? Ever thought about solar? Ever thought about solar?" And trying to get leads through there. Then boots on the ground, door knocking, to inside sales, to now account management. So I mention it because I have been in the trenches. I know what you guys are going through when you're in the home. Shit's not working right. Pardon my language. I think we're all adults here. And so I get that frustration, and I'm here to support you, right? So anytime you guys need to get a hold of me, I think for some of you who might have already tried to be getting a hold of me, we've had communication, you'll know that I'm not always the best to get back right away. I have 5 dealers, 9,000 reps with Powur alone. So you can imagine things kind of get lost. But in that instance, if there is a pressing matter where you guys need we're going to have an ongoing conversation about a particular lead or a deal, then I highly recommend shooting me an email. And you guys can see my screen, yeah? I think that's a good. All right, so that's my email there on the screen. Feel free to write that down. Again, for ongoing communication where we're going to have to work through a deal, I recommend email because otherwise it'll get lost in my iPhone and I may or may not get back to you right away. If it's a one-off quick question, something you need in the moment, feel free to shoot me the text and then maybe I can, hopefully I can help out there in the moment. But that being said, again, this is my email, j.balatbat@sunnova.com. If you don't have that, I'll throw it in the chat here later. All right, before we get started, go ahead and take your phones out and take a picture of this QR code for me. This is going to drop all of these contacts in your phone book. And this is crucial because I am one person. Dealer support is an extension of who I am. And although they may not have all of the capabilities that I have, they are able to help with most of the things that you might have an issue with. For example, for whatever reason, credit's not getting pushed out to a customer, or it says manual credit required. You call into dealer support, they'll do the manual check over the phone. If you're not able to send the California Solar Consumer Protection Guide or the contract's not getting sent out, you can hit me up, but what I'm going to do is tag dealer support and have them send it. So it'll kind of cut me out of the middleman. Obviously, you can CC me, but my point is utilize dealer support. They are a great team of over 500 people, where I am only one individual. So again, if I'm not readily available, they can. The validation line here, this is the number that they would call to get their contract validated. I recommend doing online validation whenever possible. It just simplifies the process. You don't have to talk to anybody on the phone. There's no disconnect, potential, oh, well, I thought they asked this, and then now you have to start all over and it doesn't, move forward. Online validation kind of eliminates that. It's available 24 hours a day. What you have to do is make sure that you yourself as a rep is validated, and you would log into your portal and click into like your profile, and you would add a picture of yourself. I think you have to add a picture of your license as well. And once you're validated, then the customer will be able to go to mysunnova.com after you've signed the contract. And guys, if you're in the home with them, or if you're on a Zoom with them, or if you're in communication with them at the time of signing, then I recommend doing the validation right there in the moment. Do not leave the home. Do not hang up. Have them go to mysunnova.com, create a new account. You'll provide them with their system ID, and they'll be able to do the validation right there in the moment, as well as ACH. So they'll be able to set up their bank account info there in the moment as well. And we'll talk about ACH and what, if that's required and can they opt out. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. And then, of course, Sunnova customer care. By the way, if you guys have questions or anything like that, feel free to just chime in, unmute yourself, interrupt me. That's fine. Otherwise, I'm just going to zoom kind of through this, and then we'll get to ultimately the PC2 demo at the end. But we are going to discuss what's happening in Sunnova, kind of updates, what's to come and where we came from. We'll talk about our products that are available, and then what we require for those requirements. We'll touch on enhanced credit review. If you guys have been watching, like, the Powur Masterclass or any of that, we did talk about that a little bit, and I'll kind of, touch base on that again, because I do think that's a game changer. And then again, we'll hop into PC2. So, it's kind of frou-frou stuff. Again, I think maybe we can kind of do without some of that, but basically, we started in 2012. We're public now. It took us 7 years. This is October 31st of 2022. So now these numbers are closer to, this is over 300,000 customers in 45 different markets, and we have over 2,000 employees now. And really, all of that is to help enhance the dealer experience, right? I'd mentioned it in a few master classes that I did with Powur on stage. But we're here for you guys. I don't have a job unless it's for you guys. And so we've invested a lot of time and money and resources to make sure that your experience is as smooth as possible. So our SLA improvements, so our turnaround times on responses for dealer support and customer support went from 72 hours to under 24 hours. So if you're emailing dealer support or calling dealer support, calling or emailing, really emailing, you don't have to wait 3 days. They'll get back to you. And that's huge because, again, if you're leaning on them for support, who wants to go 3 days without getting an answer? It kind of sucks. We've made IT improvements. Catalyst, you guys, is something that you don't have access to. You have access to what's called PC2. With Vision around the corner, I'm heavily involved in that integration, and I understand that Vision should be coming with Sunnova here really within the next week or so. So this is huge. And I think it's going to make everyone's job easier, including mine. So I'm heavily pushing for that. But Catalyst is our vision. It's our new version of PC2. And I am going to activate and build this out. I have to personally build it out for you guys for Powur. And the reason why we haven't is because there's just been, you guys have adders, and yet there's a lot of, it's really robust in terms of what you guys can offer. And Catalyst wasn't up to that point yet. Long story short, we'll get there. And that way you'll have Vision as your primary tool, and then Catalyst as a backup should whatever reason Vision not be working with us. Our loan caps were raised to $250,000. Now, it has to be 50% of the home's value. So in a loan, in this loan, a $250,000 solar loan would mean that the home has to be worth at least $500,000. But in either case, I don't think anyone's cap is $250,000. I've yet to see it. So whoever gets it is going to get a special prize for me. A $250,000 solar loan. Let's go. All right. You may have seen this slide before. You may have not. I'm going to zoom through this. We offer solar, solar plus battery. Now, Sunnova offers standalone battery, but Powur is not designed to handle battery-only installs, and it's not to Powur's fault. Slim margins. It's kind of a complicated thing to just offer batteries, but good to know that Sunnova does have that. And then in terms of our add-ons, we have EV charging, generators, roof replacements, tree trimming, NPUs, all available in terms of an add-on. And the non-Sunnova systems, we offer one-time repair services in our SRS, or we can offer basically like a long-term insurance plan through our SPS services, which also is huge. If you're door knocking and you see somebody with a solar system, or if you're talking to somebody, a prospect, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I'd refer you, but my mom got her solar system like 10 years ago," we still have the ability to continue the conversation. Oh, really? How is that company still around? How's their system working? Oh, you know what? They mentioned that it hasn't worked for the last year. They don't know who to call. Blah blah blah. Have them reach out to us. You get a part of that, obviously. So again, trying to give you as much ammo as we can. What sets us apart, obviously, is our warranty. I think we're all maybe aware of this. And if you're not, to make it simple, every single solar system that you sell, battery or not, comes with 25 years bumper to bumper coverage. And what I mean by that is, yeah, sure, system monitoring, diagnosis, we handle the scheduling of repairs and replacements, no out-of-pocket costs, it's on our insurance, yada yada. Energy guarantee. Actually, I'll notate every single one of our products, loan, TPO, loan, lease, or PPA, have the energy guarantee. Really, what sets us apart is this replacement thing, man. Batteries are not going to last 25 years. They'll last 10 years, 12 years if you're lucky. So it's inevitable that they will need a new battery. And if you sold them on anything outside of Sunnova, they would be responsible to come out of pocket for the replacement, the disposal, the work that needs to be the install, all of that comes out of pocket for the homeowner. Under Sunnova, that is not the case. Doesn't matter if it's year 1 when the battery fails and it's under manufacturer warranty, or if it's year 25 and the battery fails, we will replace it at no cost. All right. What are we looking for? The homeowner's got to pass credit. They got to be on title. It's got to be a residential property. And you need to have that contract validated. Very simple. There are caveats here. If the homeowner doesn't pass credit, we accept co-borrowers. Technically speaking, the co-borrower must live in the property. Technically speaking, this is one of those scenarios that I would use online validation, because you run the risk of them calling into validation to validate this contract. The co-borrower doesn't really live there, but they don't know that they're supposed to live there. And then the person from Sunnova is like, "Hey, do you live in the property?" And they're like, "No, I don't live there. I live in da 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 da." Boom, you just lost the deal. So online validation will help to avoid those discrepancies, right? Signer on title. Well, there's caveats there too. If the property's in a trust, if it's under an LLC, those things, totally fine. We'll work with you as long as, obviously the title and they pass credit. All right, so in terms of credit requirements, we look at the FICO score. We start with Experian and it waterfalls to TransUnion. What we're looking for, that threshold, is a 650. No bankruptcy for 7 years. TEC score has to be greater than a 199. A TEC score is, do you pay your water bill on time? Do you pay your cell phone bill on time? Those types of monthly payments that aren't typically accounted for in a credit score. and then we don't look at your DTI. I'm going to pause here for a second. I don't know how familiar everyone is again, so I'm going to act as if you guys don't know anything. But when it comes to credit, whether it's a lease, a loan, or a PPA, all of our inquiries are soft inquiries, except for when in the loan. Once they sign that contract, 2 weeks later, it becomes a hard inquiry. So I'll say it again. Everything starts as a soft inquiry, but in a loan, once they sign the contract, 2 weeks later, it becomes a hard inquiry. And I mention that because I think it's important that we are transparent with our homeowners and we set proper expectations. I don't want you guys to start off with, oh, it's a soft inquiry, let's do it. They sign a loan, and then 2 weeks later, they're like, yo, Jay, I thought you said it was a soft inquiry. Why did my credit? Blah, blah, blah. Right? So we got to set those right expectations. Furthermore, while we're on the topic of credit, neither of our products, loan, PPA, or lease, will affect the homeowner's DTI. None of our products will affect the homeowner's DTI. If you're working with Mosaic or GoodLeap and they take out a loan with those guys, it shows up as debt on their credit. So that's a turnoff already. I didn't even know that it was an option to have a loan not show up on your credit. That's crazy. So whatever you guys are pushing, if it's not Sunnova first, I don't know why. Because the fact that we're not affecting their DTI is a huge value prop when talking about loans. You have real estate investors that want to remain fluid, whatever the case may be. It's important that, I'm really digging in that because nobody else does that, right? So that being said, if they default on the loan, then we will report it. I get questions as to how is that even possible? Well, to be very clear and keep it super simple, we are the bank, right? We're not selling off these loans the moment that they're signed. And so that means that until they default, we have the option of not reporting that debt, right? I think I saw a hand raised. Is there a hand raised?
Yeah, right here, Jay. Real quick, someone just texted me this question, but back to the warranty. 2 questions. Is that transferable?
It is.
Okay. And then 2, if a customer prepays their loan, or PPA or lease or whatever, it's still 25 years, correct?
That's correct. I love that question.
Okay.
Super good question. Yeah, it doesn't matter if they pay off the system in year 1, in year 5 in a PPA, 15 years down the line, 20 years down the line. No matter when they pay it off, 25 years is 25 years is 25 years. And it is attached to that system. Okay.
Yep.
Can I ask a quick question?
Of course you can.
Oh, sorry, Anthony. No, Anthony, you go first.
No, go ahead, Sean. Go ahead.
So say if they're like signed in with a monthly lease rate, they were paying 200, now they're paying 100. I know that's not accurate, but it's a 25-year plan. You said it was a 25-year plan?
Correct.
Okay, so 25-year plan, and at 10 years down, they want to just pay off everything. Say there's $25,000 left to pay off. Is there like a couple $1,000s on top of that they also have to pay for financing and things like that? Or like a buyout?
No prepayment penalties. You wouldn't have to buy off the rest of the finance charge, for example. It's just for the agreement itself. So no prepayment penalties or anything like that.
And that's very clear cut. You can show that to the customer saying this is exactly how much you'd have to pay if you wanted to pay it off.
100%. Absolutely.
Cool. Thank you so much.
Of course.
And one quick question still on the warranty with the power production guarantee, just to confirm, Mosaic, GoodLeap, and Sunlight do not have power production guarantees.
Oh.
They don't. So
and those guys are only offering loans. First of all, you guys were already talking about this. Loans are just going to become obsolete, I think, in my opinion. I ask this all the time in my trainings. I'm like, somebody who's only sold loans, sell me on a loan. And I don't think it's ever happened. On my personal home, you guys, I'm not bullshitting you. On my personal home, I have a PPA with a 2.9% increase. because I'm not in my forever home. I just wanted the lowest possible payment because my SoCal Edison bills were like $1,000 a month during the summer. It's fucking ridiculous. So I just wanted the lowest possible payment. I didn't care about 20 years down the line. I'm probably going to be in a different house. So a PPA with a 2.9 escalator made the most sense for me.
Okay. Jay, to that point, so it's not your forever home. You have a PPA. So with a PPA and a lease, let's say you go to sell that property in 3 years. What is the process for that? Is it an easy transfer? Does it have to be paid off? What happens?
I love that you asked that. We're actually going to get right into that. So let's talk about that. So our equipment lease. So let's talk about a lease. It's payments based off of the cost of the equipment. So steady monthly payments. You have the option of adding an escalator up to 3.9%. We own it. It's on our insurance. 25 years of coverage, 85% energy guarantee. That energy guarantee looks like a true up, you guys. So every year we true up. If we're short, then it looks like a credit to the customer's account. Okay. No buyout option in a lease, but we're going to talk about what happens. And then, of course, no dealer fees. So you could take the same system in a loan with, let's say, even 5.99%, right? One of the lower dealer fees available. And then you put that same system up against a lease, you're saving that customer. I mean, I think our 5.99 is 30%, maybe. You're saving them 30%. There's no reason to charge them a dealer. Let's talk about what happens. Let's say the homeowner is selling the home. Well, one, they could just transfer the system to the new homeowner, which means the new homeowner signs the transfer agreement and they assume all of the rights and obligations for that lease moving forward, from that point moving forward. They can prepay the lease off, try to recoup that amount of money in the sale of the home, for example, which is what most people do. And then basically all they're doing is transferring the use of the system over to the new homeowner. The third option, if they're selling their home for the homeowner, is they could literally remove, like uninstall the system and reinstall it on the new home. I've been in the solar industry for a long time. I had never heard of that option. And when one of my coworkers told me that that was an option, I was like, bullshit. Why would anyone want to do that, first of all? Second of all, why would we even allow that? But this snippet on the left-hand side of the screen is pulled from our contracts. This is our verbiage. So yeah, they very well can move their system to the new home. There are costs involved. It's expensive. I don't know why anyone would do it, but they can.
So
Let
two
me
Can I
two
ask
question
something?
for you, Jay.
Yeah,
Oh, you go first.
My bad, Sean.
go ahead.
Okay, so
No, you're
on
all
number
good, bro.
number two, prepay the lease and transfer only use of the system. What does that really mean? And then number two, you have a ballpark figure of what it would cost to move the system to a new home?
So to answer the first question, you're prepaying the lease, which means, like, again, remember the equipment cost, right, in this scenario. So you're prepaying off the power, like off the equipment. And use of the system means that the new homeowners wouldn't have any payments at all. The system is just generating the power for them. They have zero payments all the way through 25 years. Right.
Okay,
Now, technically speaking, they paid for it. If the homeowner was smart, let's say to prepay the lease off, it's 5 years down the line, they have 20 years left on the lease, and to pay that off is $20,000. So they can pay the $20,000 and then try to recoup that in the sale of their home. So if their market value on their home was $500,000, they're likely going to try to recoup it and make their home $520,000. The use
Okay,
of
so
the system means now the homeowner basically is just taking advantage of that system being on their roof. Technically speaking, in that scenario, the new homeowner did buy the house at $20,000 more. So technically they did buy the system, right? But the point is, transfer use of the system means that throughout the next 25 years, they'll have the ability to, if the battery's on there, obviously backup storage, And the system will just continue to act as if no payments will be due.
Okay, so just for the sake of being politically correct in our communication for the entire group, we don't want to position that as this, like in a purchase scenario, that the solar system is going to increase the equity of the property. You have more equity in the home because of this system. That does not happen in a lease scenario, correct?
Well, I actually would beg to differ. I think that any home, regardless of the finance product that has solar on their home, will increase that home's value. By how much is, that's kind of up to debate. But you have a home without solar, you have the same exact home with solar, whether it's a lease or a loan, that home with solar should be valued higher. Now, do I have a ballpark cost to the moving of the system? Unfortunately, I don't. It's going to depend on system size, right? And it's going to depend on really just system size, like how many panels are we going to have to remove and then reinstall in the new home.
Hey, Jay, can I say something?
Sure.
So I hear what you're saying, but this is the main reason I've stayed away from leases is kind of what Dana's alluding to. I don't know that it necessarily increases the home value, but what it does do is it gives, if there's a 20-year term, the person buying the home has to accept the lease, otherwise they can't close escrow. Realtors hate leases. And so because they can't sell the homes, and it's a detrimental thing to be able to sell your home. This is why I have in the past stayed away from leases. If this is the way to go, I'm okay with leases, but let's be real about what the reason why someone wouldn't want to get a lease is. That's probably the main reason, right?
Yeah, I see that logic, but again, well, let's start from the very, very basics. Like, I'm actually currently looking for a new home, and obviously, I'm looking at new builds and old builds. I'm in the solar industry, so I'm keen to go with something with solar. Like, if you're a homeowner or if you're a prospective buyer, like, one, you're not gonna, like, if I'm looking for a pool and my realtor's showing me a house without a pool, I don't want to see that house. You know what I mean? So solar is kind of like this predetermined thing with a homeowner. Like, they either want it or they don't. And I understand maybe the transferability has been historically difficult for realtors, but it really shouldn't be. It is a pretty simple transfer on our end. I think where a lot of the disconnect is when a new homeowner is looking to buy a home with solar, they're not talking to a solar rep, they're talking to a real estate agent that really can't provide the value prop that everybody on this call can. I agree. It's been like what you're saying is very common. It's a common mentality, of course. Leases and transferability, like, you just kind of don't want to deal with it. But it doesn't need to be that difficult, I don't think. Let's kind of move a little bit forward, and I'll show you guys what I mean.
Well, Jay, one more thing, because I think this is a really important piece of this, especially for the guys here in California. Can you go back to that slide, please? Because, okay, again, in terms of number two, you cannot, in a lease scenario, there's always a lien put on the property. Okay, if number one.
Well, so let me interrupt you. It's a mechanical lien on the system, not on the property, at least for us. So we never put a lien on the home.
Really?
Never, ever, 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 ever do we put a lien on the home. It's an equipment lien, a UCC thing, I think is what it's called.
UCC 1, yeah.
Yeah, never on the home.
Interesting. Okay. All right. Well, never mind.
The other thing about this, Jay, go ahead, Dana. Sorry.
No, you're good.
No, I was just kind of piggyback on that. Like the one thing, if someone's buying a home, it's the thing that is detriment. Again, I want to learn how to sell leases. I haven't done a lot in the past, but I want to.
Right.
But I just want to be real and be honest with people. I do think that the disadvantage is it's not really a choice if they want to get a lease. They have to get it if they're going to close escrow. There's no choice. And so the buyer choice is taken out of it. And if, let's say they were getting a house, and let's say they had a mortgage payment of, say, $3,000 or whatever, and now the lease is another, say, whatever, $200, $300 with an annual increase every year, then all of a sudden they're not able to qualify for as much home, and it makes their monthly payment higher. So again, I don't think it's not beneficial. I think a lease is better than just letting PG&E continue to raise their rates and just beat people up. I don't think a lease is worse than having nothing. But I also think that we got to be honest with people. There is at some level a detrimental effect on the sale of your home if you have a lease, right? I mean,
Well,
just
so
to
I
be
think
honest, right?
well, sure. I think that's what number two really, the reason why number two really comes into play. Under normal circumstances, the original homeowner is just going to want to transfer the system to the new homeowner, and that's where you're going to get this kickback of like, well, I don't want it, or whatever. They don't want to transfer it. That's where buying the lease out really kind of, okay, like if it's a matter of, hey, we're not going to be able to sell my house anymore because of this stupid lease, then okay, like you have the option to buy out the lease and transfer just the equipment over. Now, whether you recoup that money in the sale or not may be a different story, but it is an outside of just transferring the system, right?
You're saying that like it may not add equity to the sale if it's $900,000 home and they want to add $40,000 equity. It may not add the equity, but just to get the sale done, you can buy it out. My question is that transferring to the new homeowner shouldn't be an issue unless you're talking about like a pretty rundown property, correct? Because like buying property nowadays, you have to have a credit score. I guess you wouldn't if you paid cash. So I see what you're saying with that. Where if somebody paid cash and they had a low credit score, you may not accept the transfer, but they could buy the property, and that's where the issue would come in, right?
Right. Well, I mean, I think it's safe to assume that anybody that's going to be buying a home has at least a 620 or higher, because
Yeah.
if it's an FHA loan, the threshold, at least here in California, is a 620. So
And
assuming
that's same for you guys, right?
well, remember our initial threshold was 650, but assuming all things are like average, like what we would typically see, then yeah, they usually would qualify for the new home and moving forward. Now, actually, I'm glad that we got there. It's a little caveat. So let's say the homeowner has a 600, and the new homeowner has a 600, and they don't qualify to take over the lease. They would then have the ability of putting down either a $500 or $1,000 deposit, and that is dictated by the system size. So, like if it's greater than 7 kilowatts, for example, they'll need to put $1,000 down in a deposit. And what happens is once their credit is established and where it needs to be, where it could qualify, then they get that deposit back, and they're able to then just have that assume the agreement under their name moving forward. But sorry,
Wait, you're saying that all they would have to, the new homeowner, if they don't qualify, all they have to do is pay $1,000 and it just stays in the last homeowner's name?
well, no, I'm sorry. It's now then under the new homeowner, but there's $1,000 deposit. Once their
So
credit
all they have to do, if their credit is terrible, all they have to do is pay $1,000?
correct.
So similar to a deposit for a utility company, anyways.
Exactly.
But that's no money at all. So when people are saying like, "Oh my gosh, it's such a problem to have a lease on your house," we're talking about $1,000.
Yeah,
That's
like
it.
I
That's
said,
the
it shouldn't
only-
be an issue.
Well, that doesn't sound like an issue at all. That sounds like a benefit if you're paying less and you only have to pay $1,000. Why are people talking about leases and buyouts? Are there other companies that do forced buyouts upon transfer of the deed? Is that what they're referring to? You guys don't do that?
I think it's more tied to, honestly, brother, I think it's more tied to just the negative connotation that the word lease has.
Okay. Thank you so much, too, for the information.
Of course. Let's keep moving. I love the dialogue. Let's go back and forth. I love it, but there are some other points. So let's keep going, and then just let me know when you guys have questions. But so for the next one, so let's say they take it all 25 years. They're in their forever home. And you know what, you guys? I'm sorry. I'm gonna pause real quick, and I'm just gonna move offices. Give me 1 second, okay?
Regardless, I'll just kind of step in and continue the previous dialogue. But I mean, there's a prepayment, or there's a not prepayment, but they can buy out the lease as well. So if a homeowner doesn't want to come into a $200-300 with a 1, 2, 3% escalator, they could just be bought out anyways.
Anthony, but it looked
where
like
it's
on the
zero.
previous slide, though, like one of the first slides said
Sorry,
that there was
we're waking up
no
and
buyout
anyway.
option.
Are you good, Jay? One more time, Dan?
It looked like one of the slides in the beginning said that there was no buyout option.
No, that was number 2. Point number 2 was
No,
In,
it was
in the
one of the
event that
slides
you're
in the beginning.
selling the home, there is that buyout option. You're right. In a lease, there is no 5-year buyout option. Like there would be. What the fuck is going on?
I think it was like a 5 or 7 year.
Give me 1 second. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But at the sell of the home, it does have that option though.
only in the sale of the home, yes, but
Yeah.
not outside of that scenario.
So,
Okay,
I mean,
let me go back here. Selling the home. Okay. Move the system to the home. Okay. Let's assume that they went all 25 years at the house. They ran out the lease. What happens at the end? So if within 90 days of the expiration of the term of the agreement, if Sunnova doesn't request to have the system removed and the homeowner doesn't request to have the system removed, then basically the system becomes theirs. And I'll show you the verbiage here in just a second. But again, within 90 days of the agreement expiration, Sunnova and the homeowner can request to remove the system. Hey, I don't want it anymore. Come take this thing. If the homeowner is in default with us, then there might be a cost. But typically, if they're just like, hey, 25 years is up, I don't want it anymore, come get it, we'll come at no cost. We'll uninstall it and repair the roof back to its original state prior to solar. If no one requests to have that system removed within that time frame of 90 days, so Sunnova doesn't call the homeowner and the homeowner does not call Sunnova, then the homeowner is automatically considered the new owner of the system. They just take ownership of it at year 25. So, yeah, there was no early buyout option unless you're selling the home. And yeah, a lease sucks because, it's not yours. According to our traditional methodology, when we're talking about, let's talk about a car lease, for example. And I think that's where part of this negative connotation stems from, is like, we're used to saying, okay, we're leasing this thing, we got to give it back. Well, at the end of our term, at the end of the 25 years, they just automatically become the homeowner or the owner of that system. Now, I know the next question is, well, what happens if Sunnova asks to remove the system? Well, let's just think about the logic here, guys. It's a 25-year-old system. It will literally cost us more money to send out a crew and a truck and like roll them out and uninstall it and then bring it back to where? And where would we even store it? Like, what are we going to do with this 25-year-old system? We don't want it. So likely we're not going to ask for that.
But I have a quick question.
Yeah.
The negative tax consequences could be a lot of money, right? Because if it's a lease that has $20,000 that hasn't been paid off, the government's going to come after you for that, the new owner. Most certainly, right?
No, I can't really speak to tax scenarios. But what I can
Well,
say,
that's what happens if you buy something and you don't pay and you don't if you lease something, I'm sorry, and you don't purchase it off, that's what happens, right? The government will just put it into your like income tax or whatever, and then you'll owe them that. Is that not correct? Because I don't know, I wouldn't know this. I've never had a lease.
I'm not gonna bullshit you, man. I don't know the answer to that.
All right, sorry, I don't know either.
It
I
probably would depend on how Sunnova values it. If they value it as scrap, it probably wouldn't be that much.
And again, let's go back to piggybacking off of that. We need to consider there's no used market for solar panels. Like, there's not this black market where there's this huge thing for, huge demand for used inverters and panels. So likely after a fair market value assessment 25 years down the line, it will be evaluated to be, you know, slim to none.
Another question, Jay, is if after
Something
25
slim to
years,
nothing.
let's say that the system has some degradation after 25 years, what would be, would they then have an option? I guess they would, of course, they would have an option to re-up with you guys with a different system,
Yeah.
because that would seem like that would be, the system would have degraded a lot by the end of 25 years. And so that would be the disadvantage. So you might want to be able to get a new system, not because of anything more than just it's not producing what it could produce with, I mean, 25 years from now, who knows how much it's going to be producing with new solar panels, probably a lot more than now, you know?
Yeah, I mean, you know, taking into account degradation, you know, I mean, degradation per year is less than 1%. I see where you're going with that. Absolutely. It's a valid point. But so I think that, yes, obviously, if they're still inclined to, you know, inclined towards solar, then yeah, they can obviously also just opt for, you know, getting a new system installed, new panels, and update that. That's definitely an option for them. Now, they also have the option to renew the lease for up to 2 5-year increments, which is a total of 10 years. And the only reason why anyone would really do that is so that the warranties extend as well. But, you know, at the end of the 25 years, again, you could renew the agreement for warranties purposes, or you could just say, hey, this is mine, and that's it. It's the end of the day. Now, the same thing goes for PPAs. Everything that we just discussed also goes for PPAs. But let's talk about our PPA for a second. So we have a normal PPA, which is a power purchase agreement. Those payments will fluctuate according to production. So when you're dealing with customers in the East Coast that deal with heavy winters, maybe a normal PPA might be to their advantage because it's going to max produce in the summer. But then during the winter, when there's no production or very slim production, they're not going to, you know, quote unquote, be penalized for it, or they're not going to owe a monthly payment higher than what their system produces, right? Now, in a PPA EZ, it's a little different. What indicates an EZ is that it's just a fixed payment. And the reason why I'm focusing on the EZ versus just a normal PPA is that this that we're looking at right now is the most common, or the most common model of a PPA that you'll find in the market. So if you guys are, you know, combating a Sunrun proposal, for example, you guys are up against a Sunrun proposal, more than likely, if it's a PPA, this is the model of that. So what do I mean by that? It's a steady solar rate. It's a fixed monthly payment. 17-cent solar rate, $200 a month, every month for the next 25 years. Unless you add an escalator, of course, you do have the option to add an escalator up to 2.9%. Again, it's on our insurance policy. We own it. 25 years of coverage, has the energy guarantee. Here's the caveat. You have the option to buy the system, purchase option, after year 5. It's the only real difference between one or the other. Now, I think that's important to know, because as we're selling in states that don't allow PPAs, like Florida, then, but our leases are available, there shouldn't be a hangup. And I don't know why I get a lot of hangup. Like, oh man, your PPA is not available. I only have option to lease. It's like, dude, it's the same thing. It's just the verbiage. And again, we need to try to work our way away from the negative connotation of a lease, because basically it's the same thing. At the end of this thing, they own it. They have the ability to transfer it over. It's a fixed monthly payment. You know, there's no dealer fees. So they're basically, in essence, the same thing.
You were saying that the new owner is going to own it regardless, right? At 25 years. So
Doesn't matter.
it is a power purchase agreement. You're literally paying to purchase power. Whoever owns the house in 25 years is going to have it. That's cool to know, bro. This is like super informative, by the way.
Yeah, no, dude, I'm glad. Thank you for that feedback, because I wasn't quite sure. Like, I mean, I've been working with Powur for a long time, and some of you guys know what's up. Some of you like need to, you know, it's like I figured with this, let's take the opportunity to lay just the foundation, the groundwork, and then we can kind of build up from there. So thank you
What's
for
the
that.
advantage? What's the advantage of adding an escalator? What would the escalator? I mean, what would that be? What's the advantage for that?
So for me, the advantage was a lower upfront payment. So let's kind of play out some examples. In a PPA with zero escalator, let's say your payments are $200 a month every month for 25 years. With that same design, a 2.9 escalator, your payments are $100 a month. So 200 versus 100. By the time it takes this agreement to get from 100 to 200, that break even is on average about 12 years. So it'll take me 12 years with a 2.9 escalator to get up 12 years of payments to get all the way to what would have equated a 0% escalator. And in my scenario that I described earlier, I'm likely not going to be in this house in 12 years. I just want the lowest possible payment for my power. So 2.9 is going to provide you with the largest upfront savings. It's basically giving you the majority of your savings in this agreement in the first 12 years. That being said, a 0% escalator does provide more lifetime savings, obviously. But for some people, that doesn't matter. For some people in California, especially, that really doesn't matter. I'm the prime example. I'm 34. I'm 35. I've got 3 kids. I'm in my first home. Gonna move to my second home hopefully soon. Like I'm not looking 12 years down the line. I need to save the most money up front right now. That's when you would offer a 2.9 escalator.
And so that escalator would transfer over to whoever you sell the house to, then they would be paying the higher payment. Is that what you're saying?
I am saying that. You are correct. So if they opted, so if I sold the home in 12 years at year 12, and the new homeowner comes in and that payment is $200 a month, well, first of all, let's just be real. I mean, in comparison, it's always solar versus the utility, right? Like I think we get hung up on solar product versus solar product versus solar product. But no, the equation is solar versus utility. So it doesn't matter if it's a 0% or 2.9% versus the utility, we're still saving a shit ton of money. So yeah, they are resuming the loan at a 2.9 escalator at year 12, moving forward to year 25. Yeah, it's going to increase by 2.9%. You guys, that math equates like $3 a year. It's not that much. And they're still getting significant savings, especially when we're talking about something somewhere in California. Let's go a little bit further. I know there's a ton of questions, so and I love it. Let's keep going. The way to maximize a homeowner savings, let's say you're talking to somebody who under normal circumstances would be a great candidate for a loan. What makes a great candidate for a loan? Well, I think the first check mark is that they qualify for the tax credit, right? Like, okay, you qualify for the tax credit? Yeah, then we should probably talk about a loan. But what about those retirees? What about those, what about those homeowners that don't qualify for the tax credit, but they have this money, they want to invest in solar, they want to save money? Then I would recommend the PPA Flex. This, or in other words, AKA 100% upfront payment. Because this will result in, on average, about a 27-30% discount off of their power. So again, you're dealing with an affluent homeowner, and I think we could agree, we've had probably this conversation with affluent homeowners who are wealthy. Usually these guys won't qualify for the tax credit because they've done something savvy to owe 0 taxes, right? So, but they're still affluent. They still have money to invest into their property. 100% upfront payment in a PPA Flex is what I would recommend. let's talk about what this looks like. And by the way, 25 years is 25 years is 25 years, right? So they do 100% upfront payment on day one, doesn't matter. 25 years of coverage all throughout. In front of us, what we're looking at is a pretty common system size at 6.4 kilowatts. Let's assume this is in California with a utility rate at 26 cents. Zero upfront payment, no problem. 16-cent solar rate, so that's pretty damn good. And their lifetime savings at just about $19,000. If they did a $5,000 down payment, they're buying their solar rate down from 16 to 12. Their lifetime savings goes up to 25,000. In 100% upfront payment, in this scenario, we're looking at a 50% disc, half off, 16 to 8 cents, and their savings drops or goes up to about 46,000. So if we're having a conversation again with an affluent homeowner who has the ability to invest a large sum, who cannot take advantage of a tax credit, which is going to be, I would say, 7 out of 10 people cannot take advantage of the tax credit, then this is the conversation that I'm having, right? Huge savings, you guys.
And to confirm, this is essentially a prepaid, correct?
This is what Sunrun would call a prepay PPA, correct?
Yeah.
Like
And
an
that still
annuity.
comes with the same, that still comes with the same 25-year warranty and everything.
100%.
Essentially get not the full 30% discount up front, but they do get a nice little, it's cheaper than cash.
Way cheaper than
But
cash.
Yeah, but
Here's the
still
other
with the
side.
25-year warranty.
So it does come with a 25-year warranty. And remember, a part of that warranty is an energy guarantee. So what happens when you do a true up and they completely paid up front? Like, how are they going to get a credit on their bill? There's no bill. There is no monthly payment, right? What happens in this scenario is they literally get a check written out and cut out to them and mailed out to them for the difference in power that it didn't produce. So even in a 100% upfront payment, there's still an energy guarantee. Okay.
Hey, Jay.
Yeah.
It seems like it underrepresents the savings a little bit because this is let's say with SoCal Edison or PG&E, whoever it is, the rate is 26.4 today. It's not going to be like that forever. They're going to have an escalator where the utility is probably going to go up between like 4 and 6% every year at least, So this shows what it is now, but it seems like I don't know if your tool does this, but it seems like it would be a lot more than that over a 25-year period. You know what I mean?
You're 100% accurate. Yeah, absolutely right. Absolutely right.
Does the tool show that or no? Does the tool?
Not this particular screen that we're looking at, but yeah, the system does take into account the annual utility increase as well. If you guys have been building proposals in PC2, you guys remember the utility increase section in energy usage details where you can select either 0 all the way up to 4.9 depending on the market. That's where you're indicating that increase every year over year for the utility, and that's where the system will generate the correct savings based off of that increase for the utility as well. So you're absolutely right. This is conservative in this screen that we're looking at. Savings are potentially much more. Compounded savings over time. You have a 2.9 escalator on a deal. Again, let's go back to that example we had. $100 a month, every month for the next 12 months, and then next year it increases by 2.9%. Well, again, the equation is solar versus not solar. And if they did nothing, right, like that increase on the utility is going to be like 5-6%. Like it's just compounded savings over time. So as the agreement moves forward, and yes, even though you are increasing by 2.9%, the utility is increasing by much more than that. So we're saving even more year over year. We're going to talk about enhanced credit review. I've taken a lot of time. I'm going to zoom through this last part, and then I think a PC2 walkthrough might be beneficial. So enhanced credit. If you don't have a 650, basically they're going to get pushed through an enhanced credit review. It's an automatic thing. You don't have to do anything as a rep. And if they qualify through enhanced credit, and they're in any of these markets for right now, then they would qualify for either a solar loan or a solar plus battery loan. I did not say PPA. I did not say lease. If they qualify through enhanced credit, it must be a loan. The new threshold is 550 in enhanced credit. Earlier, I told you the threshold was 650. And although this is still a moving target, there are other variables that factor into this approval, right? Like a homeowner can't say, hey, I have a 560. I thought I'd qualify. Well, there are other elements to that decision. But the point is the threshold is much lower than 650. 100 points is huge. What does that look like? You have a homeowner, their solar project costs $25,500. Based off of this example, that loan would be 25 years at a 5.47% APR. All right. And that's really with enhanced credit. It's an automatic thing. You guys don't have to worry about it. If they don't qualify under normal circumstances, automatically push through enhanced. If they qualify through enhanced, it has to be a loan. And basically, this is what they would qualify for in terms of, you know, project cost and APR. Let's get into PC2.
A really quick question.
Yeah.
The escalator, that's a yearly, it just goes up yearly. So if they buy it right now, so next year on April, whatever today the date is, that loan will go up for that through that amount through the whole year, correct?
Yeah. So if it's $100, if the starting point is $100 and you have a 2.9 escalator, so year one, every month for the next 12 months will be $100. Then year two, it'll increase by 2.9%, which based off that math is about $2.90. So every month, so now then for year two, every month for the next 12 months, that payment is $102. And then year three, it's $105, and then so on and so forth. What I'm going to build you guys. So let's build it, and I'm going to show you what that increase looks like. So I'm going to create a new lead. You guys can still see my screen, right? I assume that's a yes. You might be familiar with this already. I'm just going to enter the address. We all know, drop the pin on the house. We all know what that looks and sounds like. I'm going to take this.
What a killer neighborhood, bro. No solar. Bunch of pools.
Right? And everybody here is affluent, if you will.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, okay, drop the pin. Got the address. Okay. This is a solar system. Now, for Powur, accessory loans are, I think they're live now. If not, they will be live by tomorrow. An accessory loan is you have a homeowner and they need a new roof. Okay, well, roofing is not allowed under PPA or TP or a lease. Like you can't combine those two. In a loan, you can use roofing as an add-on, right? Now, if you're selling like what we're all talking about, the future is a TPO. For those of you who don't know what TPO is, third-party owned or third-party operated system. So lease or PPA. What you can do for the homeowner that does need a roof is you can add an accessory loan. This is a standalone loan for the roof. It is a separate payment outside of the solar costs. And for roofing, it's up to 11 years. There are some, you know, obviously dealer fee, blah, blah, blah. we could talk about that at another time. But if you were doing an accessory loan for the roof, obviously you would just click accessory loan here, and then it would take you through the motions, square footage, how much per square foot, so on and so forth. In this case, we're talking about a solar
Does it
system.
matter which one you do first, Jay?
Not necessarily. I would imagine that you would want to get the solar part of this out of the way. So I would, as of like what I'm doing now, I'm creating a new lead, entering the address, doing the solar portion of it, having them sign, do the whole thing through solar, and then go back in, create a new lead, drop the pin, and then select accessory loan for the roof. You're kind of doing both in the moment. Now, in this instance, I'm glad that it did this. In this instance, it didn't pull up the exact address that I put in. Remember, the pin dropped in the middle of the road. Now, if it's a new build, or if for some reason you're not able to drop a pin, or the address is not coming up because the system is doing a title verification in the background. So for whatever reason, it wasn't able to pull or locate that property in that initial title verification. You can still move forward by clicking continue without confirming, or continuing basically without that confirmation of the verification of the title. And it will allow you to go through all of the motions. At the end, however, we will need whatever supporting documents to show that this property and this title and this homeowner are all accurate. Now, in this instance, it's not quite right. 14065. I know I answered that. 065. Let me select it. Okay. Continue. So now it's like, oh, okay, actually, sorry about that, Jay. I did find it. Yes, 14065. That's correct. Cool. I'm going to select that. It's going to do that soft pull. So it already confirmed it's a SFR. And then in that soft pull, it'll pull who are the owners on title, right? Now, ideally, you're working with one of the people that are on title. If not, you're just going to add the contact. So like in this instance, I'm just going to add a new contact. Test. Don't give my phone number out, guys. You guys can have it, but don't give it out.
Already put it on what's that site, Backpage? Or no, I'm just kidding.
Tie it to like an OnlyFans so I can get some money to it or something at least.
Exactly, dude. Get another stream of income.
I love it. We're gonna let this go through and save here. Now,
well, on the topic of your phone number, Jay, I realized you called me earlier and I totally didn't answer it. My bad.
Oh, you're good, brother. No worries.
I'm like, that's the 909 number that called me earlier.
You're like, who the F is this?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got you. Because it looked
Publicly, I want to apologize to Jay.
No, you're fine. But when like my phone number says 9,000, a lot of people are like, I thought it was, you know what I mean? Like just some random telemarketer. No, that is my phone number. Be sure to save it. All right, you guys, we're gonna get into the good stuff. I have my solo proposal pulled up, right? And I have my Sunnova proposal pulled up. Why is this? What is going on here? Hang on. This is where it may get tricky for some.
Your example, Jay, can you just go back and choose one of the names that was already on title or on deed?
Yeah. Let me see. Let me go back. Please. Okay. Actually, hang on. Yep, this is correct. Continue. Oops. No, this was like, oh, I'm sorry. This is an accessory loan. Hang on.
So it works with the Solo. It doesn't work with the new Power Vision.
So
I think vice versa.
So Solo does not work. Vision will work. Solo, I don't know what it is, man. I don't know what it is, you guys. Our API, yada 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 yada. You are not going to be able to get from A to Z, and I mean from lead entering to signing contracts, all in Solo. I maybe gotten one report of someone successfully doing that. So let's take a macro vision of this for a second. We need to create the design in Solo, create the lead in Solo, turn it into cash. Okay. And because Solo is not going to properly integrate with Sunnova, that's why we need it as cash. We need to know that this amount here this is the base amount. This is the dollar that Powur expects to get paid on this project. They need at least $27,991. Okay. So now I'm going to hop into Sunnova. I drop the pin, right? After dropping the pin, selecting the correct person on title, it'll drop me into this screen, which is, it'll automatically bring you here, which is the next step, utility information, energy usage details. So this is in SoCal Edison land. You know what, you guys, to be truthful with you, current rate plans, like these little things, aren't detrimental to the project. You're not going to get a rejection because you chose the wrong rate plan. But that being said, I always recommend trying to be as accurate as possible. So let's just say it's domestic. It won't even let me select anything else because it's NEM3 already. So NEM3 here. And then this is that annual increase for the utility that I was talking about earlier. I always recommend selecting the highest possible option. In SoCal Edison, it's 2.9. In IID, it's 4.9. I don't know why. It's genability, blah, blah, blah. This is definitely more than 2.9. I think we can all agree, in SoCal Edison especially. But always select the highest available. I'm going to say 12,000, perfect, baseline, save and continue. And then it's going to take me into system designs. So I've created the lead, I've dropped the pin, I've entered the utility info. Now I need a design for this thing. All right. So I've already created a design here, so forgive me. Let's say there was nothing here. You would simply click create new design. And in this instance, you're going to use provide my own design, because you're going to take, I'm going to split it. You're going to take the information from Solo. Oops. And you're going to be transferring that information over. So in this instance, I have Sunnova here on the left, Solo on the right. We can see that based off my design, there are 6 total available arrays, but really only 2 of these arrays have modules on them. So now array number 2 becomes array 1, and array number 4 becomes array 2, because these are the only 2 that have any modules on it. So here you can see array 1. I think this is a mock account, forgive like the actual manufacturer or whatever. And let's say here I had 9 panels, or 9 modules. I'm going to choose in phase. There's only 1 racking. In phase, and then tilt for array 1 was 25. Azimuth for array 1 was 167. Solar availability is the inverse of shade, which means 95%. I do have 1 more array, so I'm going to add additional array. It will auto-populate all this information. I need to correct the quantity. And I need to make sure that the tilt is correct, 25. Azimuth here is 78. Solar availability here is 99. Okay. Now we're 12 minutes over, so if I apologize for going long. This is where you would add a battery. I'm not going to talk about batteries right now for the sake of time. If you're choosing an N-phase battery, then all of this stuff has to say N-phase, obviously. If you're choosing Solar Edge, then all of this stuff has to say Solar Edge. Otherwise, it won't allow you to add the correct battery here in the bottom, in this case, N-phase. Right, I'm going to remove this add-on. Save and continue. So now the design is correct. I've taken all the information from here and I've transferred over here into the design. Now we need to talk about pricing. So now we have the lead, we dropped a pin, utility, create a design. Now we need to talk about pricing based off that design. So according to Solo, I go to pricing. My final price per watt is $368 and my total cash project cost is $27,991. Is there any product that you guys want to see first? Actually, let me do this. I'm going to select a loan. Let's talk about loans for a second. So I'm going to select loan. I'm going to select 25 years. Let's say 3.99. You guys, it is imperative that you select, when in a loan, dealer EPC per watt. Imperative. Because what's happening is I'm going to enter $3.68 as that final price per watt, dealer EPC per watt. Perfect. $3.68. None of these matter. I'm going to run pricing. Our system is going to appropriately add the dealer fee on top of $3.68. So $3.68 plus the dealer fee really should be $5.57 for the customer at the end of the day. The total EPC that the customer is paying is $41,839. The dealer EPC, what the dealer is making, is $27,618. Now you can see here we're actually $300 short. So I would probably just add another cent there and have that run pricing. It is of the utmost importance that your dealer EPC matches or exceeds the total system cost in cash. If this number is lower than this number, you will get kicked back for a project being undersold. Now, let's just talk about the logic. Why dealer EPC per watt? If you did customer price and you entered $3.69, that's thinking, okay, including the dealer fee, the customer is paying $3.69. So now what happens is the system is going to deduct the appropriate dealer fee from $3.69. And now, I mean, this doesn't make sense, but, oh, because I did this. Let's say I wanted the customer price and I entered $27,991. That's inaccurate. In a loan, there's a dealer fee. It'll break it down here. You guys get my point. $3.73. Okay, I did the total EPC. This is what the customer is paying, $27,991. But after dealer fees, it actually, Powur is only getting paid $18,000. I'm spending a little bit more time on this, you guys, because this is probably the most common area of mistake. Where I'm feeling.
I'm sorry to cut you off, buddy.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so just to confirm, we always choose dealer EPC per watt in a loan scenario.
In a loan scenario, because of the dealer fee, 100%.
EPC means without dealer fees?
So dealer EPC per watt means what is that final price, AKA final price per watt?
Okay.
368. But
and then the loan, that's still a power purchase agreement, right?
No. And a loan is a loan. Power purchase.
Oh, so you guys do sell panels as well?
Yeah, for sure we do loans. Yeah, 100%.
Well, with Powur, I guess the Sunnova option is only for leases. Is that right, Anthony?
No, that's incorrect.
You could sell panels.
Yeah.
You could do a
wow,
loan.
I waited till the last 5 minutes to say that. I probably seem so stupid.
So
Yeah,
right
you can
now,
definitely do
if
loans.
Jay won't say it, I'll say it. But right now, Sunnova does have the best loan over Mosaic and Sunlight and Goodleap. If Jay
So
won't say it,
most
100%.
I'll say
people
it for you, Jay.
using that. And what are the panels? Or is it the same equipment that we have? Hand wall,
Same thing,
REC
same thing.
Whatever
alpha?
It's
you
just
want.
more steps.
It's whatever you want your panels to be. Look, you guys. So in here, I have panels as Q cells, but if I were to change it to alpha 400s, then in here, I would just select alpha 400, right?
Jay, but if you're selling on Power, you don't have to use the Sunnova system if you're not selling a battery, right?
Well,
That's
so
what he's showing us right now. Yeah.
that's what I'm sure. Like usually through Power, you would have to use Solo or now Vision, but we're not in Vision yet. So let's just talk about Solo. But Solo is not going to let you get to contract signing. They're going to push you an error somewhere. I'm confident of it. So the point is, you have to generate it in Solo as cash so that we have the design, we have everything that we want in terms of equipment. It's all here in Solo. Okay, well, it's not transferring over automatically to Sunnova, so we have to manually do it. So whatever you pick here in Solo is available to you here in Sunnova. So if you're picking
So
hand, go ahead.
if I'm selling Solo, like if I'm on Power selling Sunnova on the Solo proposal application, I can't select a finance option for the loan.
No,
With Power, I have to.
you have to put it as cash.
Okay.
And then if you wanted it to be a loan, after you've created the design, then you have your option here. Okay, well, this is cash, right? In here, okay, I'm going to take this cash info, this number here, and I'm going to translate it into the loan. But if I want a PPA, or if I want a PPA-Z, or if I want a lease, right? Now,
I know you went over this earlier. The login on that is the same as Power.
it is the same login. Yeah, well, you should have the same login, and if you don't have it, let me know and I can provide you with that information.
Okay. Thank you. Sorry for the question.
Oh no, you're good. You're good. Guys, all good. I love it.
Envision automatically transfer over.
Oh yeah, Envision. This whole conversation is a moot point.
Okay.
Envision, this all goes away.
Okay,
But
good.
I think it's important though, Alan, that we still have this in our knowledge base because, you know, in my experience, when it comes to integrations, nothing hits the ground running, right? There's always going to be a learning curve, and maybe that's not on the rep, maybe that's like an IT curve that we need to consider. So it's always good to have this in your back pocket. Once you get familiar with this, you guys, I mean, I could bust out a quote in 5 minutes or less. It seems like a lengthy, convoluted process because it is. But once you start to know and recognize where you need to go and what you need to do, having both screens up here, I can do it in 5 minutes or less for sure. So let's talk about a PPA-Z. So in a loan, I talked about you need to use dealer EPC per watt because it's going to add the dealer fee. Now in a PPA-Z, a PPA or a lease, it's not as important, but I still try to use dealer EPC per watt. Now price per watt here, according to Solo, is $3.68. So I'm going to enter $3.68. No rebate. I'm going to say zero escalator for the sake of our conversation. No down payment. No non-system add-ons. I'm going to run this pricing. All right. Let's compare. So right here in front of us, I have a 25-year PPA-EZ, zero escalator, price per watt at $3.68. Again, remember, total EPC must match that cash price at $27,000 and some change. I think that's pretty much on the money. Solar monthly payment, $159 a month. Solar rate is 16 cents, right? Let's continue down. Let's compare to the loan. Same system. Now, let's compare to this one. Same system. No, this one. Same system, same dealer EPC at 3 something, but with the dealer fee, it's $559 for them. Their total project cost is $41,943. Same system, they're paying $41,000 as opposed to $27,000. You're saving them 12, 14, 15, whatever that is, $13,000 just by switching from a loan to a PPA easy. My payments in this PPA easy are $159, 0 escalator. My payments in this loan are $154, but much higher total overall cost. Does that make sense? Yo, I'm just in a Zoom right now, brother. Let me call you in. Yeah, I got you. Sorry about that. Oh, fuck me. Phone just dropped. Okay. Now, for the sake of our conversation, I'm going to kind of continue forward. Now, you guys can see, obviously, off this one design, I was able to make as many quotes as I want. So you can kind of compare and contrast on your own before you get to the homeowner to decide what is the best option for them. Or you can also do it with them, but I'm not a big fan of that. Analysis paralysis is my thing. Let's say I wanted to move forward with this PPA-EZ. I'm going to add to save list. Let's say I wanted to compare to that loan that I had. I'm going to add that to the save list as well. And I'm going to save just those 2 quotes. If you do not do this 2-step saving method where you save the 2 quotes on the bottom, it will not save. You'll leave the page, you'll come back and they'll be gone. You got to do the 2-step saving thing. Now, let's assume that this is what they wanted to move forward with. PPA-EZ, $159 a month, 16 cents in the solar rate versus 35 cents in the utility rate. I'm saving them half off of their money. This makes sense. Cool. I'm going to go to quote. And now I have my quote information up here. I have my design details up here. But I'm able to now verify the customer's credit. Okay. Let's say this is the person that we're dealing with. I send them the email verification. They get it on their phone. They do their credit. And it says failed or declined. Okay, now we need to add a co-borrower, right? What we're going to do is we're going to go to contact details on the left. I'm going to add a contact for that second borrower. I'm going to add to contract. Okay. Now, once that contact is added, I can hop back into credit verification. And then now I'd be able to select the new name in this dropdown. Now, assuming they qualify, it'll say passed here. And then it'll give you literally a list of every single product that they qualify for Sunnova. 25-year loan, 25-year loan plus storage, lease, blah, 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 whatever. If you're in the home with the customer, you could do it right here in the moment. Enter their birthday, run credit right now. If you're on a Zoom with them and you're doing a virtual call, same thing. Put their birthday, run credit right now. Assuming, of course, that they give you the permission. People are kind of weird about credit. I always like to email them so that they can take care of it. Now, assuming that, let me go back to the quote. Assuming that the title has been verified, there'd be a green check mark here. Assuming that the contract, that the homeowner is on the title or the person that you're dealing with is on the title, that'll be check mark here. And assuming they pass credit, that of course will be checked here. Now, on the left, this is generate proposal on the lower left. This is dealing with drafts. This is something that you can send to the homeowner before you run credit. I always recommend downloading a copy of this draft to your computer so that you have what the customer is, a customer facing contract. Whenever I was selling, I had like individual files with each client, and then I just threw in their utility bill and all the other stuff pertaining to that deal in that one file. This is where I would throw that. I would also like to have it so that if you do send out the contracts via DocuSign and you're virtual with the customer, you can literally follow along with your generated proposal on your computer as they sign in DocuSign on their end. So I always recommend generating a proposal and downloading it to your computer. And once this loads up, I'll show you what that looks like. So this is customer facing. Again, here is kind of all of the contract details, so on and so forth. This is savings over the time, over the length of the agreement. And then I think this one had 0 escalator, so it's not going to have a payment table on it. But if you were looking for, hey, how much does this, like, what is my monthly payment going to be year 2 with a 2.9 escalator, all the way up to year 25? It'll provide you with a table just like this, and it'll say year 1 monthly payment $100, year 2 $102, all the way down to year 25. What you'll find is even in year 25, at the highest possible payment, let's say $300 a month, man, in comparison to Edison, it would take, what you're telling me, it would take 25 years to get a bill at $300. That's not even my cheapest bill with Edison. My cheapest bill with Edison was $500. So it'll take me 25 years to get even competitive with that. And mind you, throughout those 25 years, Edison is also increasing. Right? So don't be scared of escalators, guys. It doesn't increase it by a whole lot.
Hey Jay, real quick, what's the difference in the commission on a sale as opposed to a lease?
So we pay out more. It's a different pricing matrix for escalators. So you would technically get paid out slightly more for a deal with 2.9% versus a deal with 0%. Now, in comparison to a loan, they're actually pretty similar. It's basically the same. You're not going to get paid any more, quote unquote, more, unless it was a lease or a PPA with an escalator. Otherwise, all things equal. Now, remember, these figures here are based off of my solo figures, right? So I should be able to know, like, if these things were transferred over correctly, then I should know that my margin is $7,600 here. See what I'm saying? Like, all things are equal. So if you're curious, well, how much am I going to make on this thing? Well, it tells you right here in solo. Oops. You guys get where I'm going? It tells you right here. All things are equal. Now,
Right. But our main concern, concern be helping the customer go with the best deal, though, not the commission, I guess. But I wanted to know if there was a difference in the commissioning, which you said there's not.
Not really. Not really. But again, if you do a loan with an escalator, the pricing matrix is different. So now you're getting paid more per watt than you would normally under a 0% escalator. Okay. Now, assuming that they're good to go, you went through the proposal with them, clicking review and sign contract will provide a drop-down menu where you can email the DocuSign, or if you're in the home with them, you can select sign now. Once that gets sent out to the customer, they sign it. It gets pushed automatically to Powur Finance for a counter signature. And that's how Powur becomes aware of the project. So now you have Powur uploading this project onto your portal for Powur, and now it's business as usual. You're uploading the utility bill in Powur platform, uploading any other documents or whatever, site surveys are all scheduled. All of that is done through Powur. Sunnova doesn't take over the relationship until the system is in service and has been producing power. So everything before that point is all on you guys. It's all on Powur. Okay. And that's pretty much it. I do have a kind of a hard stop here at 2:30. So any questions? I know that we can sidebar some of these discussions if it's kind of a more lengthy thing. But anything that I've covered over right now that anyone has any questions about?
No, awesome presentation.
Awesome presentation. Yeah. One quick question for you, Jay. So on a loan scenario, let's say the customer signs today, which is the 27th. When does the interest start for that customer?
So that's a great question. The first payment wouldn't be due until 60 days, until 30 days after the system has been PTO'd. So once it's starting to, like, everything's gone through all its check marks, it's producing power, from that day, 30 days from that point is when their first payment will be due.
So interest does not start until the actual first payment begins.
Correct. Correct. Great question. Any
Awesome
others?
platform too.
What was that?
And so your platform is awesome. I like all of the one-stop shop thing you got going on here.
Yeah, look, like, we're not a Good Leap. We're not a Mosaic. You know, those guys, you sell a loan with them, they sell off that loan. It's like the next day, literally the next day. And then
Right.
you guys, Powur, and you, the rep, are now stuck having to deal with that homeowner whenever there's an issue. Hey, my system, blah, 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 blah. Or, hey, da, 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 da. That's all on you. They're hitting you up, the rep, first, more than likely. They're going to Powur. Powur has to send out a truck. Like, that's why Powur as a company likes us more too, because we take on the brunt of that responsibility.
Right. And the battery thing is huge. The replacing the battery, that is freaking huge. I can't even. Yeah,
Look,
huge. It really
you
is.
guys, I've gotten a lot of Sunrun proposals like, hey, I'm competing against Sunrun. How do we da 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 da? Apples to, and it could be an apples to apples comparison. Hey, payments are the same battery, same equipment. But now that the only things that are left to differentiate the one or the other is our warranties, there is no competition.
Right. And did I hear that you offer a free battery too? Did I hear that in the beginning?
Yeah, you did. So, and we're coming on an hour and a half on this training, so I apologize for going long, you guys. Thank you for sticking with me.
That was tons of info, Jay. We appreciate it.
Thanks, buddy. It was real good.
Of course. I'm happy to do it. Maybe we can do another one with where we're talking about the promotion specifically. Right now, we are offering a quote unquote free battery. And I don't want to open Pandora's box because there's a whole thing in this topic that we can discuss and my personal feelings about it and yada, yada, yada. But we are offering a free battery. And for the homeowner, we're talking about solar systems with storage at like 20 cents a watt, or 20 cents, in their solar rate, versus Edison's, I think, MFing 60 cents right now during peak hours. Like, you're able to save the customer a ton of money. In NEM3 land, without a battery, you're negative savings. So, it's a bill swap. It's not, hey, let me save you thousands. It's now, hey, maybe let me get you, slightly more reliable power. But when you throw a battery in the equation in NEM3 land, now we're talking about year one savings, and we're back to thousands of dollars savings over the term length. So definitely worth another conversation. Sidebar with me, hit me up on email if you want more info on that and how to build that out. And then, Anthony, if you want to schedule something out with me, brother, and the team for the Fusion promotion, and we'll go through that. That's a whole other hour basically in itself.
Yeah, real quick, when does that expire?
July 31st.
Okay, so we got some time. Okay. Yeah, we can get you in. I think like the next week or two, it's booked, so we can probably push you in like 3 weeks or so.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's in everyone's best interest that I get in front of you guys again as soon as possible. So maybe sometime next week.
Yeah.
Just let me know. Throw it on my calendar. I'm happy to do it. But I do have to jump right now. I have a hard stop. I'm sorry, you guys.
No, you're good.
Cool. Any questions? Feel free to hit me up via email. Shoot me a text if you have my number. I'm here for you guys.
All right,
Awesome.
bro.
Awesome. Appreciate you, Jay. Thank you, everyone, for chiming on. And let's have a good rest of your week, guys.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a good day. Take care.